Among those who write, books and screenplays and such, there are a couple unbreakable rules. Among the most important, in fact, possibly the most important rule in the writer's world, is to show, not tell. The room was dark and cold versus Amy stumbled over what she thought was a rocking chair in the pitch-black room, though she could see her breath with every exhale. For several years now, we have been listening to Meghan Markle tell us who she is, or more accurately, who she would like to be. A duchess, a princess, an activist, a feminist, a humanitarian, a foodie, a writer, a producer, a wife, a mother, a fashion icon. But how can one be a duchess when one has abandoned royal life, or a fashion icon when none of your clothes fit you properly? Meghan has also taken a turn as a podcaster with her misnamed series, Archetypes, in which she told us, generally, what she was not, meaning what she would not like to be, or which stereotypes absolutely did not apply to her. Diva, bimbo, bitch. Bitch. In the episode about the stereotype bitch, Meghan was so goddamned twee she wouldn't even say the B word. Now, I was a longtime fan of the now-defunct magazine Bitch, a feminist publication that the Columbia Journalism Review called a respected journal of cultural discourse. It was published from 1996 to 2022 and took its name from its founder's inspiration to reclaim the word bitch, much as the LGBTQ community had reclaimed the word queer. In its heyday, Bitch had a readership of about 4.5 million. My point here, as well as my confession, is that I never actually listened to an entire episode of Meghan's podcast, and that is for three primary reasons, the first of which is that her subject matter was dated, quaint, twee. The second reason was that not only was she not tapping into the zeitgeist, but she wasn't telling stories that mattered, meaning she was telling her stories and not allowing her objectively stellar guests to really tell theirs. Meghan is not a curious interviewer. The podcast seemed to me to be a self-serving monologue/lecture rather than a crisp, brisk, insightful dialogue. Finally, I was simply unable to tolerate the voice she adopted for the program, her droning delivery that she must have decided was what a professional podcaster sounded like without ever having listened to a podcast. Well, now, according to reports, the mistitled Archetypes is to be no more. When the podcast launched in August of 2022, its ratings were strong, but over the course of its run, it steadily lost listeners, coming in at the end of its run at number 22 in the charts. People weren't enthralled, and Spotify, the podcast's producer, was running into trouble in a troubled economy. In January 2023, the company cut 600 employees, or about 6% of its workforce, and it jettisoned Dawn Ostroff, the boss who'd signed Meghan and Harry to Spotify in the first place. In the wake of Archetypes' failure, the company laid off another 200 people, or an additional 2% of its workforce. For this, Meghan was paid somewhere between $18 and $25 million. Nice work if you can get it, but apparently Spotify is no longer going to give it to Meghan. If Meghan had an ounce of self-awareness, she might take this cancellation as an opportunity to start showing us what she can do. But my guess, if the cancellation by Spotify is accurate, is that she'll only look for another platform to continue airing her grievances and rehashing her old stories and telling us about all the things she thinks she is, or should be. Duchess, princess, activist, feminist, humanitarian, foodie, writer, producer, wife, mother, fashion icon, and on and on and on. If you like what we're doing at The Authentic, consider giving this video a like, subscribing to the channel, and ringing the bell so you'll be notified when a new video makes its debut, and think about leaving a comment too. Thank you for watching.